Sergeant Lucas Cade stood inside the command room of the EAS Sentinel, a massive Earth Alliance warship floating above the planet Valerian 4. Red lines blinked on the map, showing enemy movement across the surface. Lucas didn't blink. He had been through dozens of missions like this. Quiet, focused, and deadly. That's what made him the best scout in the Terran forces. "You're not here to fight, Cade," said Commander Reese, handing him a small black data chip. "You go in, locate the VIP, and get out. No heroics. Stealth." "Only understood," Lucas replied. His voice was calm, serious. "We believe the target is hiding in the ruins of Sector 9. It's deep in jungle territory, and Zirkai scouts are closing in fast." Lucas raised an eyebrow. "You're sending me alone?" Reese nodded. "This VIP is high priority. No noise. No backup. You're the only one fast enough to reach the location before the Zirkai." Lucas plugged the chip into his wrist pad. The file popped open. It was encrypted. The only detail he could see was Code Alpha classified Royal Protection. He stared at it for a second. "Royal?" Reese didn't answer. Instead, she turned and said, "Your dropship leaves in 5. Good luck, Sergeant." Jungle Descentha, drop pod hissed as it cut through Valerian IV's thick atmosphere. The jungle stretched out below Green, massive and alive. Thunder rolled in the distance. Lucas sat still, checking his gear one last time. He wore dark adaptive armor, perfect for moving unseen. A pulse knife, a compact rifle, and a camo cloak were all he carried. He didn't need more. The mission wasn't to fight, it was to find. The pod landed softly between trees. Lucas stepped out into the humid air. His boots sank slightly in the mossy ground. Birds with metallic feathers screamed in the canopy above. Lucas activated his visor. A faint signal blinked on his map. The source of the Royal Distress Beacon was a few kilometers east. He moved fast. Ruins in the jungle. The ruins were old stone walls overgrown with vines, alien symbols half buried in moss. Lucas crouched low and scanned the area. There were signs of movement, broken branches, torn leaves, and deep claw marks in the mud. "Zirkai have been here," he whispered. The Zirkai were insectoid warriors, fast, vicious, and nearly unstoppable. In groups, if they were tracking the same target, he had to move faster. He slipped into the temple ruins. It was quiet. The air inside was dry and cool. Cracks in the ceiling let in faint light. Strange statues lined the walls to all figures with elegant horns and thin arms, clearly non-human. Then he heard it. A soft, pained breath. He turned and followed the sound deeper into the ruins. Behind a collapsed wall, hidden beneath a layer of old cloth, lay a figure small, shaking, clearly wounded. Lucas knelt beside her. Her skin was pale violet, marked with glowing lines that pulsed weakly. Her eyes were closed, and her body was wrapped in royal-colored robes torn and stained with blood. She looked young, but regal. Then she opened her eyes and whispered in perfect Terran standard, "Don't let them find me." She passed out. Who was she? Lucas stared at her. That language, that accent, and those markings. He reached into her robe and carefully scanned the ID chip on her collar. Designation, Heiress Varelian. Status, Royal Heir Lineage. Daughter of Queen Lorani Varelian. Valari Sovereignty. Lucas leaned back, stunned. He had just found the Princess of Valerian. The Valeri were powerful, secretive allies in the Galactic Council. The Queen was known for her intelligence and cold diplomacy. If her daughter was here, injured and alone, something was very wrong. Lucas tapped his cum, but it was no use. There was too much interference. "I guess it's just you and me now, Princess," he muttered. The hunter draws. Near Lucas moved quickly. He lifted the unconscious princess and carried her over his shoulder. She was lighter than expected. Moved back through the tunnels, careful not to leave tracks, halfway out of the ruins. His visor beeped. Zirkai life forms detected. Approaching fast. 3 red dots showed on his map. He had only minutes. Lucas ducked into an old storeroom gently. Laying the princess down, He pulled his cloak over them both, activating its thermal masking. He held his breath. Through the crack in the wall, he saw them 3 Zerkai scouts. Their chitin armor glistened, and their long claws clicked as they sniffed the air. Their glowing eyes searched the ruins. One of them hissed and moved closer. Lucas gripped his pulse knife. One wrong move, and he'd have to fight. Suddenly, the princess stirred beside him. She groaned softly, her eyes fluttering open. Lucas clamped a hand over her mouth, whispering quiet, "They're here." She tensed under his touch, but didn't make a sound. She understood. The scouts paused, sniffed again, then turned away. After a tense minute, they moved on. Lucas waited until their signals faded. Then he let go of her mouth and said, "Name Sergeant Cade. You're lucky I found you first." She looked at him with sharp, mistrusting eyes. "I didn't ask to be found, human." Lucas raised an eyebrow. "You're welcome, reluctant allies." As night fell, Lucas set up a small hidden shelter in the ruins. He gave her water and a protein cube. She stared at it like it was poison, then took a small bite. Her stomach growled. She spoke first. "Why are you here?" "I was sent to recover a VIP. Didn't expect royalty." She frowned. "I need rescuing?" Lucas gestured around. "Sure looks like you do." Reese glared, but said nothing. He asked, "How did you get separated?" She looked away. "A betrayal. We were attacked. My guards died protecting me. I activated my beacon and ran. I never expected a human." Lucas didn't take offense. He'd heard worse. "We're not so bad. We're unpredictable. Dangerous. Always rushing into things." He chuckled. "And yet here I am, saving your life." That made her pause. She studied him for a moment, as if seeing him for the first time. "You're different," she finally said. "You don't act like a soldier." Lucas smirked. "I'm better than most. You'll see." End of part 1. Cliffhanger in the distance. A strange buzzing sound began to echo through the jungle. Lucas stood and looked out from a crack in the ruins. Lights were flickering between the trees. He turned to Eris. "They're coming back." In greater numbers. She tried to stand, wincing in pain. "We can't stay here," he nodded. "Then we run." But before they moved, her eyes glowed softly, and a small hidden panel lit up on the temple wall behind her. She placed her hand on it, and the stone slid aside. A secret tunnel stretched into darkness. Lucas blinked. "You knew about this?" Gave a weak smile. "I'm not as helpless as I look." Lucas stepped beside her and said, "Lead the way, princess." And together, they disappeared into the dark, just as the swarm arrived above. The secret tunnel was cold and narrow. Faint blue lights glowed along the walls, lighting the path ahead. Eris walked slowly, one hand brushing the stone for support. Lucas stayed close behind her, scanning the area with his visor. The buzzing of the Zerkai swarm echoed above them, but down here, it was silent. "Where does this lead?" Lucas asked. "To the old sanctuary," Eris replied. "My people built it long ago during the last invasion. It's hidden, and even the Zerkai don't know about it." Lucas looked at her, surprised. "You seem a lot more confident now." "I remember my training," she said, though her voice was softer than before. "But I've never used it. Not like this." Lucas didn't say anything. He could see she was scared, but trying not to show it. That took courage. In the sanctuary, after nearly an hour of walking through the tunnel, they reached a round chamber. The walls were covered with glowing symbols and ancient tech. A platform stood in the center with a control pedestal. Eris touched it, and the lights brightened. She sighed with relief. "This is where I stayed as a child, during drills," she said. "It's shielded. The Zerkai can't scan through it." Lucas walked around the room, checking for danger. "Nice. Well, rest here tonight," Eris sat down slowly. Her leg was still bleeding slightly from the earlier injury. Lucas knelt beside her and opened his medkit. "Let me take care of that," said. "I can do it," she replied quickly. "You'll do it wrong," Lucas said calmly. "Hold still." She hesitated, then gave a small nod. Lucas gently removed the torn cloth and cleaned the wound. It wasn't deep, but it had gotten worse from all the walking. He sprayed healing foam over it and wrapped it tightly. Eris looked at him while he worked. "You act like you've done this 100 times. "I have," he said without looking up. "Most of the time, on myself." When he finished, he looked at her. "There you'll be limping for a day or two, but you'll survive." She gave a small smile. "Thank you, human." He raised an eyebrow. "Name's Lucas." She nodded. Eris. Different worlds as they rested, Eris studied him. "You're not what I expected?" Lucas leaned against a pillar. "What did you expect? Loud, rude, violent?" He chuckled. "Not all humans are like that." She tilted her head. "You talk little. You move like a shadow. Why are you a soldier?" Lucas didn't answer right away. He stared at the ceiling. "Because I was good at it. Still am." "That's not a reason," she said. He glanced at it. "It is for me." She thought about that for a moment. "My people, we train from childhood to lead, to listen, to command, to protect the peace." Lucas shrugged. "Humans learn to survive. That's our skill." She looked at him more closely now. "Maybe that's why you found me before they did." The predator droned suddenly. Lucas's visor beeped. Alert. Movement detected. Multiple heat signatures dash above. Lucas stood fast. "They're back." Eris looked up, alarmed. "How did they find us?" "They haven't yet, but they're close." Lucas checked the wall panel. "This place can stay hidden, but only if we don't draw attention." Eris stood too. "Should stay silent and wait." Lucas frowned. "Maybe, but those aren't just scouts. These are predator drones. They track movement and heat. If one gets close, it'll send a signal to the whole swarm." "How many?" she asked. "Maybe 4. Eris looked nervous now. "Can we fight them?" Lucas shook his head. "Not in the open, but I have a plan." Lucas's trap. Lucas moved quickly, grabbing a small pack from his gear. Inside were heat flares, an EMP charge, and a few small reflective discs. He handed one disc to Eris. "Place this on the far wall," he said. "It'll confuse the drone sensors. I'll lure them in and drop the EMP." Eris blinked. "You're using yourself as bait?" Lucas smirked. "That's the plan." "No," she said firmly. "It's too risky." "Risky is part of the job." She grabbed his arm. "You saved me. I won't let you die now." Lucas looked at her hand on his arm. For a second, something passed between them. Respect? Maybe more? "I'm not planning to die," he said gently. "Trust me." After a long pause, she let go. Bait and Blast Lucas climbed out of the sanctuary through a narrow shaft. He crept through the ruins, placing heat flares in different corners, and made noise near the top level. Sure enough, the drones came, fast-hovering machines with long legs and sharp lenses. They scanned the heat signals, confused by the reflections. Lucas waited behind a broken pillar. He watched their red lights flicker. When 2 of them gathered near the flare trap, Lucas pressed the EMP trigger. A flash of blue light burst out, followed by a loud crack. The drones dropped from the air like dead insects. The 3rd drone turned and spotted him. "Crap," Lucas muttered. It shot a spike of energy at him, grazing his arm. Lucas rolled behind cover and returned fire with a quick pulse shot, hitting one of its legs. The drone limped, buzzing angrily. Then, from the tunnel behind him, a beam of blue light struck the drone's core, melting it instantly. Lucas turned in shock. Eris stood there, holding a glowing Valari staff. Her hands trembled, but her face was steady. "You said no heroics," she said calmly. "But I never promised." "Escape route." Lucas smiled. "Not bad." Eris stepped beside him. "Remembered this weapon from my lessons. It's old, but powerful." Lucas inspected the area. "They'll know something happened here. We need to move." "Where?" she asked. "There's an old evac site, 5 clicks east. If we reach it, I can send a direct signal to the Sentinel." Eris nodded. "Then let's go." Lucas offered her his arm. She hesitated, then took it. On the run again, they moved quickly through the jungle, staying low and quiet. Lucas guided her along paths. Even the Zirkai didn't use animal tracks. Stream beds, old fallen logs. They passed the remains of a Valari outpost. Burnt, broken, silent. Eris paused, staring at a shattered pendant on the ground. "This belonged to one of my guards," she whispered. Lucas stood beside her. "I'm sorry. They died because of me." "No," Lucas said firmly. "They died protecting something important. It's not weakness." She looked up at him. "Do you really believe that?" He nodded. "I've seen it too many times not to." The mountain ridge. By evening, they reached the edge of a ridge. Below them, the jungle stretched wide, and in the distance, a metal tower rose from the trees. Lucas pointed. "That's the evac zone." Eris took a breath of relief. He made it. But Lucas's visor beeped again. "Warning. Zirkai units approaching from the north. Multiple signatures. Large group. They're coming," Lucas said. "Faster than expected." Riss looked down at the tower. "Can we make it in time?" Lucas narrowed his eyes. "Only if we move now." They started down the ridge. End of part 2 cliffhangers. They reached halfway down. The air suddenly filled with noise. Dozens of black figures burst from the tree. Zirkai. Warriors, fast and furious, charging toward the tower. Lucas grabbed Eris's hand. "Run." They sprinted down the slope, leaping over rocks and dodging trees. Eris stumbled and Lucas caught her. Behind them, the swarm closed in. But just as the first warrior raised its blade, a glowing shield exploded between them, from the tower above. Blue light beams fired downward. A small team of Earth Alliance soldiers had arrived. "Sergeant Cade, this is Bravo Team," a voice said through his comm. "We've got your signal. Bringing you in." Lucas smiled. "Took you long enough." Riss looked at the soldiers with wide eyes, then at Lucas, and, "For the first time," she said, "maybe not all humans are what I thought." Bright beams of energy shot down from the sky, lighting up the jungle like a storm of stars. The Earth Alliance squad moved with perfect timing, tight formations, precise shots, and heavy gear. They were trained to fight the Zirkai, and they weren't here to lose. Lucas and Eris ran the last few meters toward the evac tower. The ground shook behind them as the swarm roared in frustration. A soldier stepped forward, grabbing Eris's arm and helping her up the ramp. Lucas followed, spinning once to fire a pulse shot at a Zirkai that got too close. Then the blast doors slammed shut and silence filled the tower. "We're clear," shouted one of the troopers. Lucas turned to Eris. She was breathing hard, but she nodded at him, grateful. The squad leader walked over, visor down. "Sergeant Cade." Lucas saluted. "Sir, we were told you found the VIP. Is that her?" Lucas nodded and looked at Eris. "This is Princess Eris Varelian, daughter of Queen Lorani." The squad leader's helmet retracted. He looked surprised. "The Valari princess?" Eris stood tall, ignoring her tired legs and torn robes. "Yes, and I want to speak to your commander immediately." The soldier hesitated, then nodded.
"Yes, Your Highness. Safe?
For now, inside the evac tower?" Lights flickered gently. The base was small, just a metal room with basic supplies, 2 cots, and a communication terminal.
Oh.
The rest of the squad guarded the entrance. Lucas sat against the wall, finally relaxing.
Oh.
His shoulder ached from the earlier drone fight, and his legs were sore, but he didn't complain. Eris walked over to him. "You never told me you called for backup." Lucas shrugged. "Didn't know if they'd get here in time. Didn't want to give you false hope." She tilted her head. "But you planned for it anyway." "I always plan for the worst," Lucas said, wiping sweat from his brow. She sat down beside him, her voice softer. "You think like a leader." Lucas shook his head. "I'm just a soldier." "No," she said. "You're more than that." They sat quietly for a while. The jungle sounds outside were faint now. Only the buzzing of comm equipment broke. The silence trouble from within later. The terminal lit up. Hologram flickered into Shapan, older human woman in a clean Earth Alliance uniform. "Sergeant Cade." "This is Admiral Veers," she said. "We received your signal." Confirm the identity of the recovered VIP. Lucas stepped aside and let Eris speak. I am Eris Varelian, royal daughter of the Valari sovereignty. The admiral leaned forward. Your Highness, we're honored to assist, but we must ask, why were you on the surface alone? Ariza's voice was calm. There was a betrayal. Someone from my court leaked my location to the Zirkai. My guards died saving me. If not for Sergeant Cade, I'd be dead. Veers nodded slowly. Understood. We'll send a full security detail. Till then, stay inside the evac tower. Cynical. Cut out. Lucas sighed. Did you see her face? She doesn't fully trust you, Eris looked at him. Do you? Lucas hesitated. I trust your actions, not your titles. She smiled faintly. Then we're even. The power hidden. Within that night, Eris couldn't sleep. She walked quietly to the storage room and opened a locked panel. Inside was a glowing blue crystal Valeri tech. She held it close and whispered in her native tongue. Lucas watched from a distance. What is that? She didn't look up. People's connection to energy. It's part of how we control ancient systems like the sanctuary tunnel. Lucas stepped closer. I've seen humans try to use Valari tools. They never work for us. They're alive, she said. Not. Like your machines, they respond to thought, emotion, memory. Lucas folded his arms, and you can control them. I'm still learning, she admitted. But my mother said I had a gift. He watched her gently slide the crystal into a hidden socket. A soft hum filled the air. For a moment, the whole tower seemed to glow. You're not just a survivor. He said, you're dangerous. She turned to my enemies. Yes. A hidden message the next morning. A drone arrived carrying a secure data core. Lucas opened it. A message played, showing Queen Lorani herself tall, cold, and regal. Daughter. The Queen's voice said, if this message reaches you, then you've survived. Know that I am proud, but beware. Our court has been compromised. The traitor is still free. Do not return until you are safe. Find someone you trust, someone who will protect you. The message ended. Eris stood still, her hands clenched. She knew, Eris whispered. She knew someone wanted me gone. Lucas placed a hand on her shoulder. Then we can't trust anyone on your side until we know who it is. She turned to him. Then I stay with you. He raised an eyebrow. That's not how your people do things. Maybe it's time my people changed. Ambush in the jungle before. They could decide their next move. Alarms blared. Proximity alert. Multiple life forms inbound. Not Zirkai. Lucas grabbed his rifle and looked out the window. He saw black figures with cloaks moving fast through the trees. Valari commandos, he muttered, but not yours. No royal marks. Arisa's eyes widened. They're the traitor's men. They've come to finish me. Lucas turned to the squad leader. Prepare for combat. We defend the tower. The soldier nodded. Yes, sir. The fight started fast. The commandos had advanced weapons and stealth gear. They shot sonic rounds that broke barriers. The Alliance soldiers held the front, but they were outnumbered. Lucas fired from the side window, hitting two enemies with quick bursts. Eris stayed low, using her staff to activate a shield that covered one wall. Cover the entrance, Lucas shouted. Don't let them through. One of the attackers launched a grenade. The explosion blew the front door open. Then a tall figure stepped in, wearing black armor with silver lines. Lucas narrowed his eyes. That's no soldier. That's an assassin. Eris gasped. That's Lorax Ven, my mother's advisor. Lucas raised his weapon. So he's the traitor. Stand together, or Falvin spoke with a sneer. Give me the girl. This doesn't concern you, human. Lucas stepped in front of Eris. You'll have to go through me. Ven smiled coldly. That can be arranged. He attacked fast-firing energy blasts and moving like lightning. Lucas fought back, dodging and shooting. One blast hit his side, and he grunted in pain but kept going. Eris stood up behind him. Stop. Her staff glowed bright blue. She slammed it into the floor. A wave of energy blasted outward, throwing Ven and his commandos back. The walls of the tower lit up with Valari symbols. The very ground trembled. Lucas stared. "What did you do?" "I took control of the tower," Eris said calmly. "It was built with Valari tech long ago. My blood unlocks it." The traders were stunned. Ven tried to rise, but Lucas aimed and shot him in the leg. Ven fell, groaning in pain. The squad captured the remaining attackers. Lucas turned to Eris. "You really aren't helpless." She smiled. "Not anymore." The end of part 3. Cliffhanger later. As medics treated Lucas's wounds, Eris walked over and sat beside him. "You protected me without question," she said. "Even when it nearly got you killed." Lucas gave a tired smile. "That's what I do." "No," she said. "It's more than that. You believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself." Lucas looked at her, his voice low. "Now," Eris stood slowly. "Now I stop running. I fight for my people. And I want you by my side." Lucas blinked. "You sure?" She smiled. "Yes, because everything changed when I met you." The sky above Valerian 4 was a dull gray, heavy with clouds. The jungle stretched for miles beneath, but inside the Alliance base, the atmosphere was tense and urgent. Lucas sat across from Princess Aris in a small briefing room. Soldiers came and went, whispering and watching the princess with curious, cautious eyes. The alliance between humans and Valari was fragile, and everyone knew it. An officer entered the room and saluted. "Princess Aris, the Alliance Command requests a status report and your instructions." Aris stood, her regal presence filling the room despite her still healing wounds. "Thank you, Captain. Traitors within my court are still at large. I will not return until their power is broken." Lucas watched her closely. The princess he found injured and scared had grown into a leader right before his eyes. Unexpected tensions. Later, Eris met with the Alliance commander, Admiral Veers, in the base's main hall. The Admiral's face was hard, serious. "Your presence here is a political challenge," Veers said bluntly. "Some factions within the Alliance want to control you, to use you as a bargaining chip." Eris met his gaze evenly. "I am no one's pawn. I am here to protect my people and to forge a true alliance." Veers sighed. "The galaxy is full of power. Struggles. Trust is scarce." Lucas, standing near the doorway, tightened his jaw. He had seen too many betrayals to trust easily, but Aris seemed different. Training and preparation the following days were busy. Lucas trained Eris in survival and combat skills, blending human methods with Valari technology. She proved quick to learn and eager to improve. "You move like a warrior," Lucas said during one session. "But you fight like a diplomat," Eris smiled. "A leader must do both." One evening, they worked on using the Valari staff together. The blue energy crackled between them as they practiced focusing their minds and syncing their power. Lucas grinned. "Not bad for a princess." She laughed softly. "Don't forget who saved your life." An unexpected proposal one morning. A delegation arrived from the Valari capital aboard a sleek ship. The Valari ambassador approached the base commander with icy formality. "We demand the immediate return of Princess Aris," the ambassador said. "Her presence here threatens the sovereignty of the Valari people." Aris met the ambassador's gaze. Steadily, "I will return when the traitors are dealt with and the Valari can stand united." The ambassador turned to Lucas. "And you, human, are responsible for this breach of protocol." Lucas stepped forward. "I'm responsible for protecting her life. That mission is not over." Tensions rose as words were exchanged, but Eris stepped in. "Let us not fight among allies." Her calm command surprised everyone. The ambassador hesitated, then said, "Perhaps a solution can be found." The Valari Queen's message suddenly, a secure message came from Queen Lirani herself. "Daughter," her voice echoed through the room, "I have sent loyal forces to aid you. Stand firm. Trust no one but Lucas Cade and the Earth Alliance. Together, you will restore what has been broken." Reese's eyes shone with renewed strength. Lucas nodded. We have more than soldiers now. We have a chance. The first battle reports. Cayman of Valari traders moving to seize power in the capital. Iris and Lucas prepared a strike team to take the fight to them. The operation was dangerous, deep in enemy territory and outnumbered. Lucas led the team through jungle paths. Using human stealth tactics combined with Valari tech, they faced traps, ambushes, and fierce fighting. But Eris inspired the team. Fighting alongside them and commanding with wisdom beyond her years, the battle was fierce. Several moments tested their resolve. In one critical fight, Lucas shielded Aris from a deadly blast, taking the hit himself. She helped him up, whispering, "I'm not leaving you behind." Victory and new bonds. After hours of fighting, the strike team captured the traitor leaders. The Valari capital sent messages of thanks and support. Aris stood before her people. No longer the hidden princess, but a true leader. Lucas stood beside her, honored and proud. The two had formed a bond stronger than politics. Bond of trust and respect. End of Part 4 cliffhanger as the celebrations began. A distant shadow moved in the stars, a new threat approaching Valerian 4. Lucas's come beeped urgently. Commander Cade, an unidentified fleet approaching at high speed. Unknown intentions. Lucas looked at Eris, his voice steady. This mission isn't over. Reese nodded. Together, they prepared to face whatever came next. The stars above Valerian 4 twinkled faintly through the thick atmosphere. The night was quiet, but tension hung in the air like a heavy fog. Lucas stood on the bridge of the Sentinel, eyes fixed on the approaching fleet displayed on the main screen. Unknown ships, sleek and silent, closed fast, their intentions unclear. Commander Cade, the ship's AI, said calmly, "The unidentified fleet is entering orbit. They are not responding to communications." Lucas nodded. Prepare. The defenses. Alert ground forces. This might be more than just a threat. Princess prepares in the Alliance Command Center. Eris studied the incoming data. She had changed so much since they first met. No longer the frightened girl hiding in ruins, but a warrior and leader ready to fight for her people. "We must unite the Valari and the humans," she said firmly. "Only together can we face this new enemy." Lucas joined her side. "We've already come this far. We'll face this like we did before, together." She looked at him and smiled. "I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad you're here." The battle begins. The unknown fleet opened fire without warning. Energy blasts lit up the sky and shook the planet's surface. Lucas coordinated the Alliance forces, directing ships and ground troops with sharp precision. Eris used the Valari technology to boost shields and control defense systems on the planet. The enemy fleet was strong, but they were not prepared for the combined human and Valari tactics. Lucas watched as the enemy flagship faltered, its shields breaking under coordinated fire. Unexpected allies, just when it seemed the battle would turn against them. More ships arrived this time, Valari warships, sleek and glowing with blue energy. The Valari fleet joined the fight, blasting enemy ships and turning the tide. Aris's voice crackled over the comms for the sovereignty. "Hold the line." Combined forces pushed the enemy back, forcing them to retreat. Aftermath. The battlefield was quiet again. The stars shone over a battered but victorious fleet. Lucas and Eris stood on the surface of Valerian 4, watching the sun rise over the jungle. "You saved my people," Eris said softly. Lucas smiled. "We saved each other." Eris turned to him. "What now?" Lucas thought for a moment. "Now we build a future. A new alliance." The Valari Queen arrived with her advisors. She greeted Eris with pride and respect. "You have proven yourself worthy," the Queen said, "and your choice to trust a human was wise." Lucas stood nearby, feeling honored but humble. The Queen placed her hand on Lucas's shoulder. "The galaxy will watch us now. Together, we are stronger." Aris smiled. Together. Final reflection as the mission ended. Lucas looked back at the ruins where he found Eris. A simple mission had changed everything, not just for them, but for two species. He turned to Eris, who stood beside him with quiet strength. "It was just a mission," Lucas said quietly. "But everything changed." She nodded. "And it's only the beginning."